Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is February the 21st, 2024. Hopefully, this episode finds you well in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Work was a very good day. I'd say really good. They treated us today. They fed us. It was for Black History Month, and yeah, they just hit us with some good old staples. I don't know how they acquired the food. I think it was all catered. I don't think anyone made anything this time because I know I've talked about something like the Taste of Sanmar, things that we do, but I think this was all catered. I gotta say, it was pretty good. I'm trying to just give you a quick rundown of what I had as I remember it. There was some beans, there were some mac and cheese, there were some collard greens. Collard greens were like they were good, they were fine. I wouldn't go crazy over them, but I feel like they didn't have the meat, and that's when I like my collard greens. Throw a fucking ham hock in there, and we're good to go. But let's see, there was like several kinds of chicken. The smoked chicken I had, like the wings, those were good. They also had like buffalo that I didn't get. That might have been the only thing I didn't get. Then they had chopped chicken. The chopped chicken was low key the worst, and it was because of whatever sauce they had running with it, or the sauce I had put on after the fact. But I think it was maybe a mix. It had like almost like a mint like taste or sweetness that was just off putting. But it was overall fine. It was edible. There was green beans. There was mac and cheese. Did I say mac and cheese? That was on there. And brisket. Brisket was actually really good. I feel like the times that I've told you guys about the brisket, it's a varying kind of medium. I feel like this was a little bit above the medium, so I was like, yeah, give me that. Now I will say, I normally like to talk about how I get to scam, right? And what I call a scam that I run is like getting the extra ticket and then getting my extra run in of the goods. But I didn't do that this time, sadly. I got the extra ticket to ride, but I just didn't feel secure in my move, so I laid low. I didn't do it. But hey, it was fine. I got in once. We'll say it was for no, I can't even say it was for like dietary reasons. I wish because I know I'm about to try to eat like more tonight. But anyway, food corner from last night was just the old pasta. It was pretty good. With the salad and the bolillo roll. So yeah, it was nice. I've been eating pretty good in the neighborhood. Let's see here. There's really nothing else about my. Well, there's some things I could complain about and wah about, but I don't want to turn it into that. That's not. It shouldn't be that kind of podcast. It's a blog s. This is the blog part, but I don't like to get too Bridget Jones with my shit. If you know, you know. Anyway, let me do my startup. Hopefully, you take startup with me. Get right. And we have a lot of news to cover. I'm gonna try to condense it down in like my totally Kyle kind of head ass way that I try to do. We'll see if that works. Hopefully, I don't take up too much of your time. But hey, hopefully you're enjoying the time. Hopefully you have the time. I love being here. I'll say that much. Anyway, let me do my thing. Ooh wait. Okay. So there's a whole lot of Israel Palestine related stuff that I wanted to go over a little bit, as well as some other things. So I figure we'll get this block and then we'll cover the other stuff. So it's almost gonna feel like maybe two episodes. I don't know. Hopefully it doesn't go that long, but we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, let's get into it. From The Guardian. Palestinian minister accuses Israel of colonial. I wish there was a colonialism. That'd be cool. Colonialism and apartheid at the ICJ. So, just doing some summarization here. This is another separate thing. This isn't for the genocidal acts that are happening in Gaza. Let's see where I want to read from. The let me read the person's name because it's important. Riyad al-Maliki presents Palestinian case at the start of the week of hearings called by UN General Assembly vote. The Palestinian, let me read ahead a little bit actually. Let's see here. Yeah, within the next few months, the judges are expected to provide the assembly a non-binding assessment of how the Israeli policies of Jewish settlement and annexation in the West Bank and East Jerusalem affect the legal status of the occupation and its consequences for the rest of the world. So this is, also a very important thing that has kind of been happening where, we're kind of getting into a little bit of history here. And, of course I should have, the dates and stuff like that already. I don't. But some of it is provided in this article, which I do like. But essentially it is about how Palestinian land has been taken, over time, bit by bit by bit, by Jewish settlers and has just been okayed by Israel. And more or less Israel's defense here is like, well, yeah, we signed and said that we weren't going to take land like this and be this aggressive. But at the end of the day, it's land that we got from Egypt. So it's not really like we can do what we want with it. This isn't a thing and we should be allowed to do anything that we want. And, essentially I feel like this case is saying, hey, no, this is us contesting that. It's a bit of a sloppy summary, of course, but let me see here. There was something that Maliki says that just kind of rang really true to me, and I really wanted to make sure I got. So let me read here. In Monday's hearing, Maliki illustrated his presentation with 5 maps, showed the dramatic erosion of Palestinian territory from the land established as Palestine under a League of Nations mandate in 1920. The maps depicted the territory's proposed partition under failed 1947 UN plan, its reduction to the West Bank and Gaza. Sorry, my water bottle fell. Oopsie. After the 1948 war that led to the creation of Israel and fragments of Palestinian-run areas in the West Bank left by 2020, after decades of Jewish settlement. Finally, a picture was shown of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the UN Assembly last September, holding a map that he called the New Middle East, in which all vestiges of Palestinian territory have been removed. There is no Palestine at all on this map, only Israel, comprised of all the land from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea, Maliki told the hearing. This shows you what the prolonged, continuous Israeli occupation of Palestine is intended to accomplish: the complete disappearance of Palestine and the destruction of the Palestinian people. And just that wrapped up a lot of what I've kind of been trying to say for a couple months. And I just felt the need to say, no matter what, I gotta get this in. I gotta at least say this shit. So, I mean, granted, this is an ongoing thing. Like I said at the top, I read at the top, this is a non-binding thing. Even though this is a group of nations hearing this shit, and over time they're going to get to the heart of this and have a ruling, there's no teeth to it. They're not going to say or do anything no matter the ruling. So it's very frustrating to me. But it's still relevant. So I wanted to make sure that we covered it at least a little bit. Excuse me. From Al Jazeera. World slams U.S. ceasefire veto at UN Security Council on Israel's Gaza war. The United States has again vetoed a draft UN Security Council, or UNSC, resolution on Israel's war on Gaza, prompting widespread criticism from rivals and allies alike. The move on Tuesday was the third U.S. veto of a UNSC resolution demanding a ceasefire in Gaza, and came a day after Washington circulated a resolution that would support a temporary ceasefire linked to the release of all Israeli captives from the Palestinian enclave, aka something that they are essentially saying, no. Yeah, it would be super cool if we did a ceasefire, but we don't actually even want that. We want to just keep doing this temporary thing, and we want to make sure that we stipulate and focus that the hostages get released in this temporary thing, because this is exactly what Israel wants. And essentially, they know that they can't sit there and go against their client state in this situation, and they're just like, okay, fine, yeah, we'll just keep running the play, blood on our hands, we don't care. And it's pathetic. It's disgusting. And, I mean, hey, this is where I'm from. Good old America. It's gross. They have all the reactions of all the nations involved. This was like a 13-1 vote. Of course, the UK, god damn it, dude. Like, they try to do the thing of like saying, hey, we didn't vote. We just abstained. It's like, you're doing it. You're voting by abstention. You know that. Like, it's once again, it's more cowardly. Like, at least as us as Americans, like, we're putting our hand on the fucking shit and saying, yeah, this is what we're doing. Like, we're saying with our whole chest. Goddamn poodle country of a name. Goddamn, I don't like the UK sometimes. I don't like France more. I don't know. I don't really like anybody. Let's just be real. I don't really dislike any one, nation state. I kind of just go, boo. We all suck. We all deserve the tomato. Anyway, this is kind of the one I really wanted to dig into. If we're gonna, out of any of the bundle, we should say, from the BBC. Israeli missile strike on Damascus flat kills 2, Syria says. At least 2 people have been killed in an Israeli missile strike in Syria's capital, Damascus, Syrian state media and activists say. The Syrian military said 2 civilians died when several missiles hit a block of flats in Kafir Sousa district. A monitoring group said 2 foreigners and a Syrian civilian were killed and that the area was frequented by senior figures from Iran's Revolutionary Guards and the Lebanese group Hezbollah. The Israeli military has not commented. However, it has previously acknowledged carrying out hundreds of strikes on targets in Syria that it says are linked to Iran and allied armed groups. So yeah, this kind of lines up with the behavior. I know that there was like a strike from Hezbollah. I want to say we covered that, or maybe it just happened and I didn't get a chance to cover it. My bad. But people died in that exchange on both sides, and you could say that this was a retaliation of sorts. Who knows? But sometimes, yeah, Israel doesn't claim it. And I mean, it leaves to be like, well, we can't verify, blah, blah, blah. But I too tend to point to, what the general consensus is on this. I don't really feel like that's spin or propaganda. But, I don't know. I really don't know what to add and say here. It's fucked up. It's sad. It's weird that we have these kind of conversations of like, well, is the war escalating? Like, is the conflict expanding? And it's like, I think everyone that's in the AOE is just going to affect, like in the area of effect, is going to feel this shit. Like everyone is just kind of going to be on this kind of edge because you just don't know. And it's like, what was accomplished here? We don't, it doesn't seem like anything was. Like, even if you are, from Israel's perspective, like, okay, so you just got 2 random people. But I don't know, man. I don't know what's gained out of any of this shit. It's very hard. Sometimes when I'm driving in my car and dwelling on this shit too long, it's just like, God damn it. Like, I think of this conflict, I think of the Ukrainian conflict, and it's like, yo, what are any of these sides gaining out of this fucking shit? It just winds up being more and more blood. But I know there's just always more to it, and it sucks, and it's unfortunate, and it's sad to cover, but I try not to look away from it. I try to cover this shit to the best of my ability. So I wanted to make sure that we got this shit in and at least, say we talked about it, as a group, as a gang, as a gaggle, if you will. So yeah, let's change beats. Let's move to the part 2. Let's move to the next the next thing. Yeah. Okay. From the Associated Press, 2 men are charged with murder in the deadly shooting at Kansas City Super Bowl celebration. So, okay, an aside. I'm going to take you guys aside before we get into this. Yeah, I'm a dumbass. And you probably knew I'm a dumbass. Of course. I've been talking shit, and it's like, Isaiah, you're a Missouri native. You were born in St. Louis, Missouri. What, like, how did you not know? You were talking dumb. You were talking slick. Like, I get it. You don't know sports ball, but these motherfuckers are from Missouri. It's Kansas City Chiefs. That's like that. Look, dude, I thought it was Kansas. All right. And in my defense, maybe the Zoomers really don't know or give a shit or whatever the generations before them. But like, look, I had the Rams. I had the St. Louis Rams. Okay, that's the only team I care about. Then they moved to LA, and I just said, okay, fuck it, whatever. Like I never considered or thought about the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, so you got me. If you knew and you had your little chuckle, like Isaiah, you didn't even know. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm fucking stupid, and that's okay. All right. Anyway, let's get into this update. Two men charged with murder in last week's shooting after Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl parade were strangers who pulled out guns and began firing within seconds of starting an argument, according to the court documents released Tuesday. Missouri prosecutors said at a news conference that Lindell Mays of Raytown, Missouri, and Dominic Miller of Kansas City, Missouri, have been charged with second-degree murder and several weapons counts in the shooting that left one person dead and roughly 24 injured. Let's see here. And where is the thing that I really wanted to read? The argument began when two groups of people grew agitated over the belief that people in the other group were staring at them, according to affidavits from police. Surveillance video shows Mays and someone with him aggressively approaching the other group. The video shows Mays was the first to begin shooting, despite being surrounded by crowds of people, including children, according to one of the affidavits. So obviously this is very unfortunate, and I shouldn't, be trying to make light of it, but it just fucks me up. It fucks me up so bad that this was literally a nigga moment. It was a nigga moment. Like, if you know what the Boondocks is, if you've watched the Boondocks, you know what I'm fucking talking about. But this is that in real, like in the real world. Like, there's two groups were like, bro, this dude's looking at me funny. He's fucking looking at me funny, bro. Look at this fucking nigga. And this happens. This escalates into and something about nothing in a celebration where literally people are just supposed to be just hanging out, having a good time, and we're just happy to see Travis Kelce and what Patrick Mahomes. There we go. Yeah, true. That's right. I know footballers. Okay. But this is it's so tragic. It's so fucking sad because it was literally something out of nothing, over nothing. I did mention that the delinquents were also charged. The delinquents. I feel like I'm talking like a goddamn boomer. The juveniles. Whatever. Authorities also detained two juveniles last week on gun-related and resisting arrest charges. They said that more charges were still possible. So yeah, I mean, I get it. They're out for just out for blood. They're going to get everybody they can. This is going to be a sweeping thing. They're going to try to say, hey, we're doing something about this. We're cracking on crime because, of course, we have lax ass gun laws here. We don't give a fuck. We're conservative about our shit, and that's not the problem. Okay, all right. Have you looked at the parents? Because we could throw him in jail tonight. Which, I gotta say, on that shit, I was really kind of disappointed to hear some people, like, rabidly happy to see someone, like, yeah, I'm so glad, like, I'm in the weeds here, we're talking about something else. The Jennifer Crumbly's, like, situation, it's like, look, dude, I know, like, yeah, the mom's a piece of shit. I totally get it. Dad also a piece of shit. This is probably a piece of shit family here. But, like, at the end of the day, I don't think that just, like, saying, yeah, let's lock up the parents, let's get them in there, that doesn't do anything. That doesn't change any of these fucking systematic problems that I keep coming to and talking to you guys about over and over and over again. It just kind of makes you feel good. But, I don't know. Speaking of things that make you feel, let's go into something that makes you feel bad. Not that any of these other stories have made me feel good. From The Guardian, yet again, Alabama's Supreme Court ruled embryos are extrauterine children. IVF patients are worried, as they fucking should be. That's not in the headline. I said the last part. In a first-of-its-kind decision, the Alabama State Supreme Court ruled on Friday that embryos are extrauterine children, a term that could have widespread implications for anybody who is seeking or provides in vitro fertilization, or IVF. The ruling has plunged IVF doctors and patients in Alabama into chaos and uncertainty as they scramble to untangle the practical implications of the sweeping ruling. So yeah, this came about because the ruling, like the situation at hand was at this clinic, an incident occurred, an accident, if you will. An employee was handling the embryos, and they're all like frozen, so like deep freeze frozen. And I think this was like a newer employee or something. They didn't really have their head up, they had their head up their ass, really. They didn't have it on straight, that's for sure. Because they grabbed the thing, like they grabbed the tubes, which have like plenty of embryos in them, like a lot. Like, and I think they grabbed them with no gloves. And in this situation, they go, "Oh my god, ow, my hands, because you can't handle this shit with no gloves." And they drop, the embryos. This now becomes a lawsuit, and essentially the logic was used here is like, actually, yeah, like you guys should be compensated. In fact, maybe this should even be treated as like a loss of life thing. And in doing so, we've now opened the door to be like, well, since we're talking about like loss of life, like, we really gotta make sure that we ship up and fly right here, because we don't want to have that kind of shit on our hospital or clinic or whatever the fuck this is. So essentially, kind of fast forwarding a bit, I found out by the end of the day that the University of Alabama at Birmingham Health System announced on Wednesday that it is pausing in vitro fertilization treatments as it evaluated the Alabama Supreme Court's ruling that frozen embryos could be considered children. So yeah, that I just pulled that from the New York Times. But to me, this is a very, very dark and scary moment. And it just goes to show that, like, we're living in this post Roe v. Wade world. And I think people want to say, like, yeah, that was really bad, but, like, the worst is over. At least, like, yeah, it's going to go down the states, and you can have your little, like, safe havens to do this or do that. Yeah, it's a lot of travel. Yeah, it's, like, it's hell. But, like, at least we have things, and it can't get worse, right? No, it is going to keep getting worse. Like, today we're talking about IVF. I've had this fear and concern, and I know it's going to come up again and again and potentially become something that we're actually talking about, where it's like saying, hey, we have to ban contraception, because if we are using contraception, it's stopping life. And like, because like your spermies, your little sperm, your little genetic material in your balls or your little eggs, like we gotta keep them safe. We have to preserve their life. They have to have a shot. And that's crazy to me. It's crazy that, and you can say I'm being a tinfoil hat motherfucking crazy guy, but you know how these conservatives move. You know how these kind of talking points get dredged up. So, like, you have to fight over the shit, in my opinion. Sadly, the best case we have here is that it goes from the Alabama State Court to the Supreme Court. That is a conservative supercharged bullshit thing. Thank you, Donald Trump. So, this getting codified on that level scares me even more so. And I can understand why the, Alabama University is like saying, yeah, we got to close up shop until we figure this out. So it sucks that like this situation over a foible at a clinic has now led to people who are trying to actually get genuine like IVF treatment. Like, what am I going to do? Now you got to travel with that shit like it's a goddamn abortion now, So, potential dark times, and that's a bummer. So yeah, all these stories I really just wanted to get done. Just get them in. Just say we did it, And yet again, we're gonna go to space for a tasty treat. But I'm gonna take it to space, and I'm gonna bring it right back down to Earth. And but before I do that, let's go ahead and take our last break. All right. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Ay. Looks like we made it. Oh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Ooh. All right. Our last story comes from space.com. Bus-size European satellite crashes to Earth over Pacific Ocean. A dead European satellite fell back to Earth today, bringing an end to its nearly 30-year life in space. Damn, I'm 3 years older than, I guess, this whole thing's like conception or whatever. Interesting things to think about. I'm getting so old. The European Space Agency, or the ESA, European Remote Sensing 2, or the ERS-2 satellite re-entered Earth's atmosphere at 12:15 EST over the Pacific Ocean. The fall ended a nearly 13-year deorbiting campaign that began with 66 engine burns in July of 2011, depleting the spacecraft of remaining fuel. Let's see here. What else we wanted to pull? It is unclear if any debris made its way down to the surface after the ERS-2 re-entered the atmosphere, but none of the fragments contain any toxic or radioactive substances. The ESA assured the public in a FAQ published prior to re-entry. So yeah, I had heard about this on the BBC, and I was just like, that's so crazy. Like, we're just gonna let this thing just fall back to Earth and nothing bad's gonna happen. That's just how this shit is designed. I think they call it a natural re-entry, which I'm like, ooh, that sounds so scary. I'm gonna read a little bit more stats. ERS-2 was roughly the size of a school bus and weighed 5,547 pounds when full of fuel at liftoff. When it fell to its fiery demise today, fully depleted, it weighed around 5,057 pounds. While fairly large, the satellite's mass isn't an outlier when it comes to re-entered space junk. An object of similar size falls into Earth's atmosphere every few weeks, which I've heard of that stat before. I've heard that fact before, but then it blows my mind every time that it's just like, because in my head does like the imaginary, like the imagination station thing of like some big rock or something like falling, careening towards us. And it's like, man, it's just like the movies. It's just like Armageddon. And like, but it doesn't like kill us. It's just like, we're safe. We're fine. Aerosmith still plays and everything's cool. It's just like another day in the life for you. You're getting gas and like that, or you're having gas. Who knows? So yeah, I found this very interesting. And I was like literally finishing up my workout, and then I was listening to NPR, and they said, yeah, it fell without a hitch. And I was like, all right, perfect. Awesome. That's really great. Glad that it really did land in the ocean. And like people have been like so flippant, matter of fact about it. Like, I mean, it's like 70% water. So like the odds are pretty good, right? I'm like, dude, you're literally telling me there's like a carbon fiber antenna that like won't potentially like burn off. So like, what if that like skewers a fucking building? Someone dies Donnie Darko style. Fuck, like, explain that. Gamble, right? Life's a gamble. Like, no, fuck that. That's fucked up. That'd be a whole other fucking episode, bro. Anyway, that's speaking of the episode. That's it. We made it. Woo. Okay, not too bad. All right, a little larger, but hey, pretty good. Pretty good with the space and the time there. Okay, if you'd like to support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. You become a newsie today. I shout you out at the top of the pod and plug a project if you like. Let's see. Free ways to hit me up. IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on the socials. We'd love to see that. You can see some of my memes and things of that nature. Hey, that'd be fun. But best ways to help out the effort, subscribe to the YouTube. I'm trying to get more subscribers. It helps out. More than you'll know. Also, liking helps, comments help, sharing helps, gabbing to your friends about this shit helps. But I mean, hey, you don't have to make it weird. I totally get it. I've had friends plug me and like they'll do it while I'm there, and I feel like Porky Pig with no pants on. But like I love them for it. They're my best friends for that. But I'm like, oh my god, what do I tell you? Yeah, man. I talk about how I don't like Joe Rogan sometimes. But I love the shit out of you guys. I really fucking do. Guys, gals, imbies, every one of y'all. But yes, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.